Hey! Today we are going to be taking a look at this Kano Computer display board. This is part of a kit used in classrooms by students to learn more about computing, and this particular board has had its USB port ripped clean off, and so we're going to take a look and see if we can repair that. So, let's get started. So here is a close-up of the USB port, and the leg has been broken off of this, which is going to make soldering it back onto here pretty difficult. I also looked in my inventory and have another USB port, but it doesn't quite match up on the legs. See, these ones are a little further apart than these ones, and so they don't actually fit in those holes there. So I can't use that either. So what I think we're going to do here is solder some wires onto this directly and essentially just make our own cable. We can get away with that because this is only used for power. There's no data going over this USB. So before we get started on this, we need to go ahead and find our ground and voltage source. So the first thing I want to check is, I'm going to follow this line here, and because it looks like it's connecting to this voltage regulator here. And so I will probe this voltage regulator, and it looks like it connects to this pin here, but that's not our answer because that could also be ground. So I'm going to check this shield because it's probably connected to our ground pin, and I'm not getting anything there. So I'm going to check this pin too, and the shield appears to be connected to that. So that might be our ground pin. So maybe if we take a look at another one of these. Yeah, so that's our ground, and that's our voltage source. So this is the USB cable that goes with the Kano Computer kit, and I'm going to guess that this missing shield here has something to do with that USB port being ripped off. But anyway, I think we can just cut the end off of this cable and reuse it as our power. So I will go ahead and just clip this off, and we'll be on our way. So let's work on stripping these away a little bit. So now that we cut the cable and stripped it back, we can start looking at the signal wires in it. And in this particular case, it's a little bit interesting because the power lines here are actually connected to the data lines as well. So this is definitely only a power USB cable. But I guess the question is, if you were to use this cable and plug it into a computer, would it actually cause damage to the USB port, or would it be okay? If you know the answer to that, please leave a comment below. But as far as this repair goes, we can just solder both pairs of these wires to the board and be good. I've taken some scissors and stripped this wire back a bit, and now we just need to figure out which side is which. Now, interestingly, this shield didn't have its own signal cable, and so I'm kind of curious if it's connected to either of these. So let's just take a quick look at that. It doesn't appear to be connected to the silver one. And let's check the bronze. And no, that's definitely not connected to either of those. So that actually makes it a little bit easier for us, because now we can just go in and shove the probe into the USB connector and take a look at which one it's connected to. So the left one of the USB is connected to this silver, which means that the right one should be connected to the bronze, and that appears to be the case. So we know which is which now. Okay, so I've looped this wire through here, and this is going to be my ground wire, and since students are going to be messing with this, I decided to wrap it around this mounting hole just to add a little bit more stability. So now we are just going to solder this directly to the shield plates there, because those are connected directly to our ground plane. So let's add some solder to shield plates first. Generous amount there. And now move it in with a wire. And we'll just melt that into place. And that should do it. So now we want to solder the power wire on, and the power pin is very small, and it's not going to be easy to solder to that. So instead, we're going to follow its trace and see if we can find something else. Something I noticed earlier was that these pin headers are actually connected to the voltage regulator, which would be the signal that we want to tap into. And so we should be able to flip this board over and solder directly into that pin header. Now we have the flip side of the board here, and there is our voltage in pin right there. You can see there's some corrosion and stuff on this board. It looks like it's been abused pretty badly. Okay, so I've looped my voltage in wire around a mounting hole, and now I'm going to go ahead and solder it to this pin. So you might be thinking, well, those mounting holes are probably needed in order to attach that display board back to the monitor, right? And it is true, but it turns out that just having the two mounting holes on the other side is sufficient to keep it down pretty well. Next, we tin the wires so that they're easier to solder together. So now we have everything soldered together, and we are getting ready to test here. We've connected the ribbon cable to the display board. And now we can just wire up the Kano computer to the display and power it on and see what happens. All right, I've plugged it in, and let's see. Oh, there's something on the screen, and the verdict is... yeah, it's definitely working. So we're good. All right. So we've soldered the power cables back onto this Kano Computer display board and tested and make sure it works. So this board will see another day in the classroom. If you liked this video, please hit that like button down below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you for watching.